All right. Thank you so much. That's a cool guy. I love him. Logan's a really great guy. And his company is doing amazing things in Utah, southern Utah. And they rock the four corners. So like right next to that four corners, the only place in the country where you can be in like four different states just by stepping over. If you haven't been to that before, it's absolutely worth looking at. It's really, really cool. Well, hello friends. I have the pleasure of not only being your MC, I've got the honor of being your next presenter. And it's gonna be really fun. We're gonna talk about activism in the digital age. We're gonna talk about this whole internet thing and how it works. And it's gonna be a lot of fun. So without further ado, we are just gonna hop right on into it and put it on the screen. There it is, activism in the digital age. Like I said, gonna be great. The internet is fun, and I've got some good things in store for you. I think you're gonna enjoy this presentation. Now, of course, I'm here on behalf of not only ACC, where I'm lucky enough to be on the board, but I also work at Leadership Institute, and it's my job to make sure that all of you are as awesome online as you can possibly be. And we do that through a lot of different trainings. We have more than 55 types of training programs. If you want to learn how to be on television, if you want to learn how to public speak, and yes, if you want to learn how to rock the online world, we have a training for you, and I encourage you to look us up. Out of curiosity, just a show of hands, has anybody been to an LI training before? Quite a few people, some people. I'm seeing about 20%. So we've got some work to do here. Those are rookie numbers. We got to pump that up. And if you've never been to an LI training, I highly, highly recommend it. Well, just because many of us aren't familiar, a quick introduction is that our mission is to increase the number and effectiveness of conservatives in the public policy process. And we do that by training. And we get called a lot of names, as you can tell, when you graduate from our programs, but I promise you, they're all really, really good names. And you know someone's an LI graduate because they're likely the top activist, the top door knocker, the top fundraiser, the one making waves in their community tend to be Leadership Institute graduates. And yes, in 2023, I'm proud to report that we've got 30 LI grads in Congress. We've got 3 senators, we have 27 members of the House of Representatives, and more than 300 grads serving in statewide positions across the country, from school board to city council. If you're trying to be active in politics, we're definitely a great resource for you. And we've been around for a long time, since 1979, founded by our president, Mount Morton Blackwell, teaching you the nuts and bolts of how to succeed in the public policy process. And now, just a real quick introduction on me. This is my Bitmoji on Snapchat. I'm looking a little bit better today, which is really nice. I'm on every single social media site, and I had a recent bad experience. I had a Snapchat streak of 1,268 days. 1,268 days, and it just broke. So yes, I did cry, and no, I am not gonna talk about it, so we're gonna keep moving on. But I'm originally from Montana. I'm from the Treasure State. Anybody else from Montana? Hey, we got some. Love it, love it. ACCs are really the only place where other Montanans are actually in the audience. It's amazing. There's just not very many of us. For context, think of the country of Germany. Germany is a giant country. You look out at a map, it's just massive in Europe. And Montana is actually larger than Germany, 6% by landmass. In that country, 82 million people. And in the state of Montana, just 1 million people. We just got a second congressional district, so that's pretty good. We're making it big time now. We took it from California, so you're welcome, America. That feels really good. We're gonna make sure that that's filled properly, that's for sure. But I always like to jokingly say you meet a Montanan about once every 7 years. So until 2030 or your next LI training, hopefully I'm a good ambassador of our state. Because again, just not very many of us. We have a 3-to-1 ratio. It's 3 cows for every human. There were 7 black guys in Montana before I left. Now there's 6. We're dropping statistical percentages. It's not good, but it's okay. It's a beautiful place. I highly recommend you visit. Most of us, we have Montana on the map. We're thinking about this state because we're all outdoorsy type people. And if I could give you the pitch, because you're not going to hear a person from Montana on the stage for a little bit longer, it's that you need to go to Glacier National Park. Glacier National Park. Anybody else been to Glacier? Oh, It is beautiful, jaw-dropping spectacular, and I would argue the best national park that America has to offer. Of course, I'm pretty biased. Utah, you've got some fantastic national parks. Wyoming, Idaho, you also have some fantastic national parks. Washington as well. But I'm going to give it to Montana because I can, and I'm biased, so it is what it is. Now, I'm here today because I'm the director of digital training. And it's my job, like I said, to make all of you awesome online. So if there's anything I can do beyond this training to be of value to you, please always feel free to reach out. In the famous words of the poet Yo Gotti, business goes down in the DMs. And so if I can ever assist you in any way, shape, or form, feel free to give me a follow on social media. Everything's at Robots, ROWEBOTZ, some shameless promotion there. But it's Robots because my last name's Rowe, and I'm in tech, so we got Robots going on. But for a second, I was going to be a rapper, and I was going to go by Death Row. I think that would have been really cool, but unfortunately, my rapping career didn't take off on the mean streets of Montana. They weren't quite that mean at all, but that's okay. My political and my technological career has taken off, and that's why we're all here today. So let's go ahead and jump into the good stuff. Like I said, I've been tasked. I'm here till 3 p.m., and I want to just pack as much value into this presentation as I can. And I want to make sure that you are succeeding not only as an ACC member, but also in whatever political journey you're deciding to take on. And it starts first and foremost with Google Insurance. Google Insurance. Do you have Google Insurance? Now, this is not something that you can get at State Farm and purchase a little bit later, but rather, when people are looking your name, your organization up online, what are they going to find, right? And we need to be very intentional about crafting a strong public image. Now, when they first look you up online, whether it's your prospective employer, maybe it's the press, maybe it's someone you just swiped right on Bumble, Tinder, or Hinge, or something of that nature, but someone put your name into Google, what are they going to find? Well, if you're doing it right, you've got a website. There should be a website, and your organization, even at a campus level, could potentially have this website rocking and rolling. These things are easy to build these days, like drag and drop website builders, squarespace.com, wix.com, very easy. All it takes is like an afternoon and a cup of coffee, and you can get a website up and running. And when people look for your name, look for your organization, you're going to be able to speak volumes and frame yourself to those individuals. Really a strong thing. From there, it's your social media. Now, typically LinkedIn is going to be the number one that pops up next to your name. So make sure you're optimizing it for success and fill it out. Highlight your accomplishments, not your job descriptions. Tell people where you want to go in this world and use and leverage these social media platforms for success. From LinkedIn, it's really going to bounce based on like what social media sites you're on, but your social media is going to pop up next to your name. And then of course, we have relevant news articles and press. Now, this is one of the easiest things to build, especially at a young age, that you should make the investments in now. When people Google your name, you can have positive press coverage associated with your name. And here's how I do it. Well, I find my 5 closest ACC friends and say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go do a cleanup. We're going to go to a food bank. We're going to go to a homeless shelter. We're going to go volunteer somewhere in the community, and we're going to tell the media what we're doing. Press release, media advisory, etc. And all of a sudden, after we not only help our community by cleaning things up, making things more beautiful, we're getting positive press coverage. So the next time someone Googles your name, you're going to be like a hero in the community. Your organization is going to be well recognized. Really important that you try to develop earned media. And it really just means you go out and do activism events, and then you tell people that you're doing activism events. And you can get some positive media press your way very, very quickly. But next, let's move on to the first impression. The first impression, very important. Really, there's 4 components of a first impression that we can optimize for success. I'm gonna focus in person for a second, and then we'll bring it to the online world. But these are 4 things you can do right now to optimize your first impression. Number 1 is your static. This is your body, right? I know what you're thinking. I'm at this ACC conference, life is good, but is this guy about to tell me to go to the gym, tell me to go work out, to eat healthy? And yeah, absolutely I am. Absolutely I am. Wow, I usually don't get applause there. No, it's like groans. It's like, oh, Orange Theory, Soul Cycle, Gold's Gym. Go for a hike, right? But make sure you take care of your body. I want you to be in this fight for a very long time. And if you take care of your body's going to take care of you. You're going to have more energy. You're going to remember things better. And again, just live a healthier life. And of course, online, you are the product. So if I'm trying to sell you online, I want you to be the best version of yourself. So make sure you're taking care of your body. Number two, thank you. Number two is the dynamic. Now, in person, depending on the study you want to cite, about 60% of communication is nonverbal. So how does it look when you walk into a room? It's a very important question. What does it look like when you shake someone's hand or when you give someone eye contact? You really need to focus on your body language. And you'll see this all the time at conferences and whatnot. I'm not sure if this microphone's going to yell at me when I get off the stage, but here's what happens when most people walk into a room. You kind of walk into the room. Oh, everyone's looking at me. Oh no. Okay. Beeline. Okay, sit in the chair. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm safe now. I'm out of the public view. But what was that? That was your first impression. That wasn't very good. Your first impression is head down, scared of everybody looking at you. And let's just contrast that for a second with the first impression of you coming up here, excited, ready to rock and roll, right? It's going to deliver a far more powerful statement to people. And what you display with your body language is speaking volumes before you ever open your mouth. So if you're walking into rooms and you're not confident, or if you're shaking someone's hand and it doesn't feel right, these are all things that are not going to look good for you. Now, again, bringing it back to the online world, I've heard that the camera adds like 10 pounds. For me, I think it adds about 15. I need to take my own advice and go to Orange Theory after this training. I had a little bit too many meat slices on my sandwich. It was just so good, I couldn't stop. But it's okay. When it comes to body language, we really need to make sure that we're maximizing it for success. Now, part 3 is your self-presentation. This is your style. This is the clothes that you choose to wear. And depending on where you are in the world, you have to play the part. I love that saying. If you want to be the boss, you dress like the boss. But at the same time, you got to know your audience, right? I'm from Montana, and if I show up to a Montana meeting in this suit right now, people are going to look at me very strange and know that I'm an outsider. It's just not going to go very well. So in that scenario, maybe it's jeans, boots, and a blazer, right, with the button down, and that's the vibe that I'm looking for. Play to your audience here, but also make sure you're looking the part. Your self-presentation matters a lot, so let's take advantage of it. And then fourth and finally is your circumstance. Now, a famous billionaire once said, "Show me your friends and I will show you your future." And for the most part, that's pretty accurate. Sometimes we need to make some additions in our life. Sometimes we need to make some subtractions. I hate to be overly dichotomous, but there's winners and losers in this world. And I really encourage you to surround yourself with people that are hungry for success, hungry for environmental action, and people that want to do stuff. And I know what a lot of people think, well, they're my friends, so I can do what I want to do and still be connected to them. But most of the time, that's going to suck your energy and keep you away from getting to the goals that you need to get to. A wise old woman in Tennessee told me a story, and it was something to the effect of crabs in a bucket. I want you to imagine a bunch of crabs in a bucket, basically on a pier. And if there's enough crabs in this bucket, one of them can grab the edge of this bucket and escape, hop back into the water, and save its own life. But it's in the inherent nature of crabs that if they see one trying to escape, they pull it back down so it's forced to suffer the same fate as the rest of them, a very tasty dinner in Maryland. But we're not crabs, we're humans, but it's still very much our nature, if you see people that are doing better than you, to try and bring them back down, and vice versa. And so if you find people that want to succeed, that are hungry for success, that want to push the ball forward, that's going to rub off on you in a very positive way. Imagine for a second, out of nowhere, all of us just decided to start doing push-ups, except for you. You're the only one not doing push-ups in the room. You're going to be like, should I start doing push-ups? I need to figure this whole thing out. Same principle. You need to surround yourself with people that are going to contribute to a positive culture. The more you do that, the far more success that you're going to have. And when we bring it to the online world, what photos are you getting tagged in? Who are you talking to online? And again, who are you DMing? Now, one quick rule for the men in the crowd. I've got 2 rules if you're direct messaging people, especially people of the opposite gender. Very important. Number 1, be sincere, right? We're reaching out in sincere earnest. And then number 2, don't be creepy. Now, that's a very important second rule here. I wish I didn't have to talk to all the boys about it sometimes, but we're getting a lot of claps. Be sincere, don't be creepy. but make sure you're surrounding yourself and building a circle for success. Okay, so now it's our job to build our profile online. And when people search for you, search for your campaign, your organization, whatever it may be, what are they going to find? Now, hopefully, we've been intentional about crafting this image. You already have a brand. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So hopefully, we've been very thoughtful about crafting that image, or we will start to be as we move forward. And as we start to introduce ourselves, which you will have to do 10 more times today, you're going to get the easiest softball you've ever experienced in your life. It's this. So what do? Right? This is something that we can knock out of the park and really give a grand slam answer if we just do a little bit of practicing with an elevator pitch. And the typical analogy here, if you're wondering what is an elevator pitch, you're kind of going up an elevator, one of those nice ones to the lobby, to the 5th floor. What are you going to say that allows for the exchange of business cards or for the connection to continue? That's an elevator pitch. So you've got a short amount of time to introduce yourself. And I'd argue to you that you need to have an elevator pitch that's not only 30 seconds, but you should have an elevator pitch that if you raise your hand and introduce yourself, you can say who you are, what organization you're with, or where you're trying to go in this world right away. So you should have an elevator pitch in 10 seconds. You should have an elevator pitch in 30 seconds, where in conversation you can really describe who you are. And you should have an elevator pitch in 1 minute, so that if you have a longer floor, you can truly tell your story, talk about what you're passionate about, all of those types of things. But what is your elevator pitch? And I would argue that, especially for the conservatives in the room, you're pretty bad at this. They tend to be right-brained, analytical thinkers, because we focus, as we deliver an elevator pitch, on features rather than benefits. And it's very important that we are benefit-driven in our language and answer the question, why should people care? You told me what you do, so what? Why should I care? How can I help you? How can you help me? Is there any win-win scenario here? We have to answer that so what with our elevator pitch. When you're talking about your organization, when you're talking about your activism projects, when you're talking about yourself, do you have that pitch that's ready to go? And just to expand on the features versus benefits analogy a little bit, let's imagine that you and we're going to go buy a brand new minivan. Yes, I know what you're thinking. A minivan? Yes. But I'm talking like one of the nice ones, like a Toyota Sienna. It's got the TVs in the back. You know, the windows can get shaded. You know, there's a roof. This is like the good stuff. Like you show up to that PTA meeting with the orange slices, and other mothers or fathers are going to be like, that's the car. They have a nice car. And so you and we've done the Carfax. We looked up it on the internet. We know that we want this minivan. And we get dropped off at the car dealership. And now it's this person's job who sees us getting dropped off to sell us this minivan, right? This little Wolf of Wall Street, sell me this pen, right? What is the car salesman going to say that allows for us to drive off the lot with this minivan? Well, they're not going to focus on the ABS braking system, the torque, the engine capacity, or the curb weight. They're not going to talk about the ergonomic design of a minivan. What are they going to say? They're going to say that this minivan is going to keep you and your family safe. This minivan is going to get you from point A to point B reliably every single day. And again, when you pull up to a stoplight and that other mom looks at you and they look at you driving this, really awesome minivan, they're going to know that you are the cool parent on the block. And so all of these things and more make me purchase this car. Now, same principle applies for politics, though. Again, most people lead with features rather than benefits, right? When we're talking about deforestation, when we're talking about water rights, there's a lot of intricate numbers. I saw a lot of graphs and charts recently. But what are the benefits? Who are we helping? What stories can we tell? That's going to really drive your message and your movement towards success. Be very benefit driven. And now, puppy. All right, so I have the puppy on the screen for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, let's just all take a moment. Let's all take a moment. Let's just look at the puppy. Okay, I feel better now. It always just makes me so happy. I have this puppy on the screen for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that I want this dog. Once I stop traveling so much for work, I definitely want a Labrador, Abercrombie Poodle, something of that nature. I had a chocolate lab growing up. It matched the family color. But yeah, any type of dog in this direction is definitely one for me. They just are so sweet, so lovable, and so amazing. but I'm getting distracted. The second reason I have this puppy on the screen is I want you to think of it a lot like a social media site. And I want to answer the question, which social media sites or how many social media sites should I be on? And it's a lot like these puppies, right? It's cute, it's new, all the kids are playing with it, and you're asking yourself, should I adopt this social media site, AKA puppy? So we hop in that minivan that we bought, that Toyota Sienna that was beautiful, and we head down to the road. Like I said, I'm from Montana, so we drive off to the farm to go look at litters of dogs, and we realize they're born in litters. It's amazing. There's so many to choose from, and some of them are staring you in your soul. They're staring you in your soul saying, please, please take me home. And well, if you're Melissa McCarthy from the movie Bridesmaids, you actually decided to put about 12 of those puppies in your car and start heading down the road. But of course, this is going to be too much to handle. Two need to use the restroom, another one's doing something it shouldn't, one's barking, one's nibbling on the seatbelt. The moral of this quick puppy dog story is that I'd rather you spend time on 2 to 6 social media sites where you can be effective than spread yourself too thin and not be effective anywhere. Time is an incredibly finite resource, and you'll find that the number one social media person is not that one across the board. Like, who's the number one person on TikTok? Any guesses? It's who? Number one person on TikTok, any guesses? It's Kabi Lam, okay? It used to be Charlie D'Amelio, now it's Kabi Lam. Number one person on YouTube, any guesses? It was PewDiePie, but yes, now it is Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast is now number one, which is good to see. A little bit of controversy going on these days, not gonna dive into that. Who's the number one person on Instagram? Any guesses? Selena Gomez is number 3, she's close. It's not Kardashian, it's not Kanye West. It's the soccer player, you're right. It's Cristiano Ronaldo. It's Ronaldo. And yeah, again, we're seeing a different person at the top of this social media site. So what have we found, right? The number one social media person is not that across the board. You gotta pick and choose your battles here. Which platform is gonna make the most sense for you? On my screen, I've got Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, but it can be anything. And just pick 2 to 6, and you're gonna be in a really good spot for success. Don't overload yourself, and you will not be effective anywhere, or you won't be effective anywhere. As you choose websites that make the most sense for you, I always like to break it down like this: audience, purpose, and preferred content. Audience, purpose, and preferred content. So imagining that I'm on the platform of Facebook, right? I have to identify what audience is there. There's a good quote by the NRA that's, if you want to hunt ducks, you go where the ducks are. So if you're asking yourself, what social media site should I be on, and if we could put that on the screen for us right now, then I would absolutely start identifying your audience. So I've created a quick chart as fast as I could with 2023 statistics, January 2023, so it's a little outdated. But picking on Facebook, there's 243 million people in the US on the platform, 34 million conservatives, so makes a lot of sense. It's the biggest town square, it's the biggest happening event every single day in your district. Makes sense to be there, right? And my purpose there is to build relationships with groups, maybe leverage my page, advertise through Meta, and then I'm posting short, engaging video. But that's very different than my YouTube strategy. On my YouTube strategy, I've got a planned, ongoing, long-form series. And my purpose is SEO, because YouTube is not only the second largest social media site with 2.6 billion monthly active users, it's also the second largest search engine. So when people are typing in, what is conservative environmentalism? What is free market environmentalism? What is ACC? They need to find answers to those questions. And what's scary to me is if you type in, what do conservatives think on the environment? What do anybody think on the environment? A message popping up from AOC, Hillary Clinton, or Bernie Sanders talking about where we stand on the issues, that's absolutely unacceptable. We need to dominate this space with our content. And we need more climate content from our side on the World Wide Web, and that's why we're using YouTube. One other fun fact that I saw recently, though, between the ages of 16 to 35, the second largest search engine is now TikTok. People are typing in that search bar and just typing to identify things. Another emerging field for sure. And again, you see my audience, purpose, and preferred content for Twitter and for Instagram, but I'm being intentional about my platforms here to make sure I can grow them to success. Now, of course, talking about content, quality is always going to beat quantity. You got to focus on quality first. If I post a bunch of stuff and no one's ever liking it, well, I can't just keep posting more of the stuff that nobody's liking. I've got to create something that people actually enjoy consuming and approach it with a curious mindset. Let's say you're trying to grow on Instagram and you're posting Instagram reels every single day, and maybe you get a couple hearts, maybe you get a couple shares, maybe some people react and comment to them. But if you're looking for more, you have to have that improvement mindset. Maybe I didn't hook them in the first 5 seconds and capture their attention in the best way possible. Maybe my audio could have been better and I should have been using a microphone of some sort. Maybe I should talk about a different topic, right? And these are all improvement questions that I'm asking myself, and every iteration gets better and better. As I create a quality product, eventually now I can focus on quantity and start outputting things bi-weekly or every day or twice a day, etc. Focus on quality first though. People will have to like your stuff. One question I get from a lot of boomers in the world, not a lot of people here. I apologize for the older people I called boomers. We get it. Apparently millennial's bad now too. Like, oh, I'm a millennial. Like, oh, you're not Gen Z? Like, I'm sorry, I'm a millennial. I'm still figuring out my Gen Z terms. People have told me that I've really rizzed them up today. Not me giving this PowerPoint presentation, right? See, I'm figuring it out. I'm getting your terms, Gen Z. I'm getting your terms. As an elder millennial, please just allow me to adopt. There's some that I don't get. I'm not going to go into them quite yet. They'll pop up naturally through this presentation. But focus on quality first. And then figure out what type of content you want to post online. We need more articles talking about the environment, and that's using your keyboard or your thumbs, right? And through that, you can create articles, you can create tweets, you can create blog posts, you can type, right? You can create memes and so much great content with your keyboard or your thumbs. That's one way we communicate online. Number 2 of 3 is audio. And that's everything from audiobooks and podcasts to music. I just saw a funny music video that hit number 1 on iTunes recently. It was the Boycott Target song. It actually like low-key slapped. I was like, whoa, okay, this is like a fire song. Now, don't hate me, though, because there's a Target right across the street, so it's so convenient. I don't know what to say. I'm a bad boycotter. And then the third type here is video. And video is extremely expansive. This could be everything from your favorite national news television show all the way to an Instagram story or reel. And again, this is a Venn diagram. Picking on YouTube, you've got a video up top and a comment section down below. These things blend together. But what strength do you want to play towards? We can use all 3, but we should have a primary focus with our content. Is it us creating with the keyboard or thumbs? Is it us pressing play on our video and talking? Is it us talking into a microphone or creating music? What is your best content? And we need content in all of these categories. So play to your strengths here, my friends. My mom told me I've got a face for radio. So that's why I've got a podcast, and I'm doing my best there. No, I'm kidding. She did not say that. And she'd be very upset if she heard me say that loud. Sorry, Mom. I apologize. But there's a lot of things we can do. Now, just some quick tools and resources for you. Most of you may know these if you've been in the content game for a little bit, and still want to give you some ideas here. Number 1 is canva.com and visme.co. There should be no reason why we can't promote our club online using websites like these. They're free, easy websites. They're both exactly $0 and 0 cents, and you can use them to create dynamic and engaging graphics, content, and so much more for everything that you're trying to do online. But wait, can't I just pay somebody to do it for me? And the answer would be yes. I'd use this website, which is called Fiverr.com, Fiverr, because everything's in increments of $5 for the most part, and they have got everything under the sun. Maybe you don't know how to edit videos, or maybe you want a different voiceover. Maybe you want a person to write articles for you, or maybe you need someone to program something into your website. This is the largest collection of freelancers on the World Wide Web. It's an Israeli-based company, and it's truly amazing. Now, the secret here, though, is it works a lot like Amazon. So when you find one of these freelancers, they'll have reviews, and they'll be like a level 1 or level 2 seller. Make sure you're using people that are worth their salt, so to speak. They've actually done the projects before. And what do you think if they don't agree with your politics? Rest assured, my friends, it works a lot like, PayPal in so many ways. They're the middle person. So the buyer wants this product, the creator/seller will make the product, and if anybody wants out at any point, they can, and the money will just go back to the buyer. So if you find someone who doesn't believe in free market environmentalism, you're not going to lose your money at any point. You may just have to find a different person on the website, but you're totally fine. There's a million freelancers ready to work for you, everything under the sun, and most things are cheaper than, $20. So a pretty good deal at the end of the day. Now, of course, we also live in the world of AI. Anybody else using ChatGPT every single day in their life? Yeah, me especially. If you are not using AI, you are going to get run over. You're going to get run over by people that are using AI. I can output 10 times as much content as you if you're not using tools like this. Really important that you adopt. You are an early adopter now. I'm going to tap you on your left shoulder. I'm going to tap you on your right shoulder. Congratulations, you are an early adopter for artificial intelligence, and I really challenge you to use it inside of your activism. A lot of stuff to talk about here. I'll keep it pretty surface level, but these two are both free. ChatGPT, the paid version for $20 is totally worth it. If you're asking yourself, should I buy it? If you're using the free version less than 10 times a day, probably not. But if you are using it quite a few times throughout your day, it's absolutely worth it because now it can talk to the internet. You can put a YouTube video link into it, and then it'll give you a summary of that YouTube video without you ever having to watch it. I can put any book in there, and it can give me a summary. I can ask it to write me articles. I can ask it to write me video scripts. I can ask it to give me feedback. I can ask it to make sure my website ranks high. I can ask it anything for the most part, and it's going to give me some real awesome stuff. Although, it gives it to me at an intern level, is what I would say. It gets you 80% of the way there, but it requires two extra things. Number one, quality assurance. Sometimes the facts, the figures, the stats, they're not right because the AI just guessed wrong or cited the wrong website, etc. So you still need to know your stuff. But then part two is editing. We need to make it our voice, our brand, how we want to present the information. And so we absolutely need two things from these AI tools still. Humans are very required at this moment for now, is quality assurance and editing. Number two is Google Bard, bard.google.com. Now, you may have seen this in the news because the first time Bard was announced to the world, it was on a stage like this, and the lovely CEO of Google decided to ask it a question in real time in front of the audience, and it got it wrong. Very embarrassing. Google's stock tanked that day, pretty brutal. And since then, they've really invested heavily so that situations like that don't happen again in the future. And Google Bard is now light years ahead of where it was before. Now, a couple things to look out for. Number one, Google Bard can integrate with Google at this point. And so I can export into Google Sheets. I can export into Google Docs. It has a dark mode as well, and over time, it's just going to exist more and more, whether it's Gmail or whether it's any other thing in the Google suite. Their AI tools are going to be inside them more and more and more. And so if your head's been in the sand around this topic with artificial intelligence, you need to pull it out and start playing with these tools. Again, if we don't adopt them, people that are using them are going to be able to get just so much further than us. And when we're talking about environmentalism, maybe you need talking points. Like, what is free market environmentalism? Explain it to me like I'm 11. And now I can use that explanation on college campuses to people that are like, what is this stuff, right? This is all going to be very beneficial to you, and I could not be more of a fan that you use it. So I just went ahead and asked it a couple quick questions for the sake of this presentation. I asked it, what is the American Conservation Coalition? And here's the answer it gave. It's a nonprofit organization. We're doing really cool stuff, focused on a variety of issues, all this good stuff. And then I replied, make it shorter and add a funny joke at the end. And here's the joke at the end. Why don't some animals play cards in the wild? Because there's too many cheetahs. All right, that wasn't that funny, I'm sorry. I've got a better joke for you. AI, they try and make you laugh. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they miss. What do you call a donut that flies? It's a plain bagel. Okay, that one didn't hit either. I got one more. Okay, here we go. All right, so a bear walks into a bar. And the bartender, scared that a bear just walked into the bar, slowly approaches the bear and says, what are you having? And the bear responds in perfect English, I'll have a gin and tonic. And the bartender says, yeah, absolutely, but I've got to ask, why the long pause? And the bear responds, what, these? I've had them my entire life. Okay, yeah, see, there we go. I got some jokes there. I see some smiles. You liked it. I know, I'm in politics, okay? I'm not like some stand-up comedian. This is like the best you're gonna get, okay? Thankfully, the bar for comedy in politics is so low that those jokes were like, all right, he's not that bad. I kind of like this guy, kind of funny. Like what he said about Montana. All right, so let's keep moving on to the next slide. You have to have a thing, my friends. You have to have a thing online. What is your thing? Hopefully you're the environment person. That's what I would hope that you are, but it can be a bunch of things as well. What's your thing? You should be of service to a very specific audience online. And I only have one piece of bad news in this entire presentation, and it's this. Most people fail. They try and start a social media site, and most people will fail. It works a lot like a New Year's resolution, where you told me, Stephen, I'm going to the gym this year, right? 5 months later, you're not going to the gym very much anymore. 6 months later, you actually started giving up on the gym entirely, and you just accepted yourself for who you are. Statistically, 95% of people fail their New Year's resolutions. And so the same principle happens for social media. And I'll give you an example. Again, the only reason I keep picking on YouTube is because people tell me it's the #1 career that Gen Z people want these days, so I like to lean into it. But you can make a lot of money on YouTube. It's pretty powerful stuff. On average, in 2023, people are making $4.17 per 1,000 views. So if you get a video, 1,000 views, $4.17. Now, let's extrapolate that a little bit and make it worthwhile. Let's say you have 1 million views. Well, then you're gonna get about $5,000. And one video that has 1 million views, $5,000, pretty cool, but I can't get 1 million views. That's totally fine. How about we do 10 videos at 100,000 views? Perfect, we still get to the million. Or we could do 100 videos at 10,000 views, right? And so the numbers work. And I love that quote, a rising tide lifts all boats. It applies to your YouTube channel because someone clicks on a video, they hit subscribe, they watch the rest of your videos. You've been down the YouTube holes, you know what I'm talking about. You see someone, they make a cool video, you subscribe, you watch all their other videos, and then everything else they make from now on. And so it's a beautiful thing. The bigger your repository in your library, the more money you're making. That's why these YouTubers in California have like Lambos and these massive mansions and won't stop making content anytime soon. Super exciting. So you can do that. But what's the catch? What's the catch, Stephen? Yes, of course. The catch is that you have to be a part of the YouTube Partner Program, which requires 1,000 subscriptions, 4,000 watch hours, and a linked Google AdSense account. Okay. So you're telling me if I get 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, I can start making money online? Yes, I'm exactly telling you that. Okay, I can do this. I feel good about it. How long does it take to get to 1,000 subscribers? Well, Stephen, you're asking the best questions. You're killing it over here. These are the questions I wanted to answer. On average, it takes somebody 18 months to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, a year and a half. Now, here's the kicker that brings it all the way back to this presentation is how long do you think it takes for people to stop uploading videos on a regular basis? Roughly about 6 months. And so people are starting this journey, they're posting content, they're trying to get better at it, but they fizzle out. And if they knew that they've stuck with this for roughly 1 more year, they'd be in the promised land. They'd start making content that was generating them money. It'd be an amazing thing overall. But most people will fail. Now, I tell this story to you that if you are trying to use a brand new social media site for activism or anything else you're trying to do with your life, give it 18 months, give it a year and a half, and you're gonna be far ahead of people that are quitting at 6 months, 7 months, or 8 months. Just having that knowledge in your head that I need to be there, be on the social media site for a little bit longer is gonna help you stay and hopefully be far more successful. But really encourage you to expand your horizons on those platforms. Now, eventually, if you stick with it, you will create great content. But getting to great content is easier said than done. We talked about the improvement mindset, but in my mind, it works a lot like Rocky IV in the speech to his son. He says something to the effect of, you, me, nobody hits as hard as life, but it ain't how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. And if you know what you're worth, you gotta go out and get what you're worth. But you have to be willing to take the hits. And the hits on social media is you spent 4 hours making a video and you got 2 likes on it. And one of them was your mom, the other one was your brother. And unfortunately, the next video you posted, your mom didn't even like it. It's very upsetting. But over time, if you're willing to get punched in the face, so to speak, in the sense that you're posting content that's not getting the results that you want, and you're hungry to get better at this, all right, I did it wrong, but I'm gonna do it better next time. I did it wrong, but I'm gonna do it better next time. You're gonna get to a point where you're creating great content online. It's not very natural to speak in front of a camera. It's not very natural to speak on stage. These are skills that are learned over time that you have to practice at. And for the people that want to push in this video direction, I would offer you a 2-week challenge. And here's the challenge. Every day for 2 weeks, we're gonna post a 2-minute video. Not anywhere, not online, we're just gonna make it, okay, on our phones. And we're gonna get used to talking to the camera. By the end of that 2 weeks, I promise you, you're gonna be ready to go on social media or in life in general. Because there's gonna be a point, if you're doing activism for a while, where someone's gonna stick a camera in your face and ask you what you think. It's gonna be really embarrassing when you mess it up on national television versus when you mess it up in front of your mirror at home, right? Let's get those practice rounds out of the way. Let's get good at creating content online and take the rounds in secrecy, so to speak. And who knows, you might make a video and you're like, oh, this is actually fire. I'm gonna post this, like this is good stuff. And now you've already started your content creation journey. But I issue that challenge to people that want to get better at these skill sets. Eventually, my friends, under great pressure, like a diamond, you will be able to create great content. Then we apply the consistency, and our online efforts are going to be far more successful than ever before. Now, if I'm thinking about what works best, what can I post online that's going to work best in 2023? The answer is video. Video is king of the internet, and I really challenge you to focus on video content. In general, less than 2 minutes is best. You kind of want to get to the point as fast as possible. One of the worst things I've seen from a lot of people is they save like the good stuff for the end. It's like, stay around this video till 47 seconds. You're going to want to stay. It's going to be amazing. How many people are going to stay for 47 seconds? Nobody. Nobody's staying unless they're entertained, they're hooked, they're captured. And so you got to put your best stuff first. You want to front load and build curiosity as much as you possibly can. Now, I wish I could say that if you do X, Y, and Z every single time, your video is going to go viral online. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but I do have a rough sketch of what works best when it comes to a viral video strategy, if we can put that on the screen for us right now. And it starts, number one, by planning. Finding an insight and using a blueprint. First, the insight. I always think of stand-up comedians first and foremost because they always have the most amazing insights. It's like, you ever heard about that airplane food? I'm like, all right, Jerry Seinfeld, tell me about this airplane food. But then it's worth it. He tells a funny joke at the end. So many insights out there, right? Maybe the insight is that I know that my friends on college campuses cannot answer the question, what is a woman? So I'm going to go onto a college campus and I'm going to go ask 5 people, 10 people, etc. that question, get some hilarious responses, and post it online, right? So if I'm running through that idea as a whole, maybe I ask them to define the Green New Deal, right? Most of them probably couldn't do that either. Let's see what they say. This could be pretty interesting. Then I use a blueprint, right? That's the insight. That's my video idea. Now I have a blueprint. Now this is really important because if I told you to go out to Salt Lake City, like outside this hotel, and go make a 2-minute promo of SLC, where are you gonna go, right? Are we going to be in the mountains? Are we going to be in the Capitol building? Are we going to look at that beautiful Mormon temple or so much else that exists here in Salt Lake City? It's going to be tough for us to figure out where we're going to go. And that's called location sickness. But if I have a shot list, a plan, like I know what I want to capture, then it's going to be very easy to tell this story. It's like Legos. I'm just putting them together over time. And that's a blueprint. So you have to have a shot list, so to speak. You envision the final product before you even go out and capture the content. And then you target. You target your audience and you target the social media. Now, the audience is the most important part, of course. At Leadership Institute's Youth Leadership School, we often put up a picture of a can of Coca-Cola and ask people, what do they think? What is this called? Now, my friends in Montana, sometimes it's a pop, sometimes it's a soda. On the East Coast, it's mostly a soda. I've heard soda pop from my grandma. I've heard fizzy drink from my grandpa. And I was in Charleston recently, and I was at dinner with a friend, and the waiter comes up to us and says, what are you having? And she's like, I'll take a Coke. And the waiter's like, great, what do you want? And she's like, I'll have a Sprite. And I was like, what? Didn't you just order a Coke? This doesn't make any sense at all. She's like, no, Coke means soda, and then you pick your flavor of soda. And I'm like, okay, whatever, person, I get you. But it's okay. But all of this to say, if there's that much nuance and nomenclature around a can of Coca-Cola, then you bet your bottom dollar that you need to be using the words that your audience is using. Very important that you're using their words so that they can connect with people. When I'm talking to traditionally conservative audiences, if I use the word election integrity or if I use the word voter fraud, it means two different things to two different audiences very clearly. And just by using that word choice, you kind of know where I stand on the issues. You need to match and mirror the language of your audience, and then go where they are, of course. When it comes to targeting social media, we've already talked about that. If you want to hunt ducks, you go where the ducks are. And of course, it's going to determine if our video is horizontal, if it's vertical, etc. And then finally, we start strong. We front load. We give them the best stuff first, and we build curiosity throughout the entire journey. I always like those movies that show you the end first and then like hit that rewind effect to the beginning. And it's like, oh wow, I wonder how they got to that point. That's building curiosity, right? But also we front load. A terrible story about this, one of the field reps for Leadership Institute, he was tabling in California. His name's Hayden Williams. He was in the news, very popular kid. And he got punched in the face by a leftist activist. Thankfully, we caught it on camera, which is great. By the way, anything sketchy going down, pull out your camera always. Make sure that you're recording that stuff. But anyways, he gets punched in the face. Now, the first time this came across my desk saying, you should see this, Steven, someone just got hit in the face. I'm like, okay, I'm interested. It seems fun to me. I like the UFC. This is up my alley. And so they show me the video. And then this man does not get punched until like 2 minutes into the video. I'm like, what is going on here? Like nothing, ultimately, at the beginning until it got exciting. Now, unfortunately, the way that a lot of social media sites work now is the way we build the video is Hayden is just getting punched in the face in the first second, just like pop, pop. And then like on the TikTok thing that's going back and forth, it just shows him just going, ooh, ooh. It's actually really embarrassing. He took a punch for us all. I don't know what to say. Although that punch put him on the stage of CPAC, and he was with President Trump, and they signed that Free Speech Act and so much more. So it was actually a really good ending to that story. But the moral of it is nobody would have seen the punch if it didn't start up front. So when it comes to your content, put the best stuff first. Show them what is most important first, and you'll be far more successful. Now, here's how videos spread on social media for the most part. And if we could put that on the screen for us right now. I'm picking on popular video sharing websites like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, and Facebook. And first and foremost, the video is going to get posted. Now, it's going to get published to your first viewers and followers. And if my friends could put the slide up on the screen for us so we could see that real quickly. So once it gets posted to your first viewers and followers, already a performance evaluation is undergoing. And when they watch your videos, there's a couple key metrics, right? Overall watch time, shares, replays, comments, likes, did they watch the full video, etc. Now, if you're a loving family member who saw your video first, or your crush who won't stop liking everything you post online, watches this video first, and they do not show it love, it's telling the algorithm that this is not an interesting video. And it's gonna, like Caesar Augustus in the Roman Colosseum, give it a thumbs down. And unfortunately, the video doesn't get pushed organically anymore. That's why the video has 50 views, 100 views, 200, and that's where it capped out. Now, if you get the thumbs up from the algorithm, it basically means that, hey, they think this video is engaging, and they want to share it with another packet of people. And then another packet of people based on success, and that's how things truly go viral online. Now, you've probably heard this before, but if the product is free, the product is you. And the goal of the algorithms of most platforms is to keep you there for as long as possible. So if you're posting content that's keeping people there at an engaging rate, they're like, this is awesome. Let's share this with more people. And that's truly how things begin to go viral on social media. And so some supercharging ways to get it out the door, of course, the first time you post that video, and it's a big one, like you're launching a new initiative, you're doing a new activism project, you're running for office or anything like that, we need our friends at the beginning to give it that good push. Then it's into the ethos, and hopefully the video can stand on its own. But this is roughly how videos are being spread on social media platforms. Now, through videos and other content as well, I just really encourage you to tell stories. I'm not the first one to tell you this, but please, we need to leverage them far more in our movement. And again, we always lead with these like fact-based statistical arguments when stories are how we connect with people. Back when our flat screens were cave walls, instead of that nice TV in your hotel room right now, it was stories. That's how we communicated as a people. What is the Bible but a collection of stories, right? And so stories are what we should leverage to advance our movement and message. They do so much for us, and you even just get stuck into something when someone says, let me tell you a story. It's kind of like, all right, well, tell me your fun story. I'm curious. And I'll show you what typical people do. I apologize, I did not prepare a proper environmental argument. You know what? Let me try. This is the first time that I've done this before. The other one is way more prepared, thought out, funny, eloquent, and amazing. This one is more off the cuff, but if you'll allow me this opportunity, here we go. So I want you to imagine two farmers, not that far away from here, on the Colorado River. One, old school Tom, does everything by the book, been doing it and raised generationally next to his precious water resource. And there's a new kid on the block. His name's Phil. And Phil is a new kid, really trying to grow his farm, really trying to take off. Now, they both noticed that the river keeps getting lower and lower and lower every single year. And Phil is getting quite concerned. He just moved his entire family here. So he tells old school Tom, hey, we need to focus on making sure we have enough water for everybody. This should not be a first come, first served scenario. We should have water rights. We should place a value on the water. Old school Tom, not sure he's new to change, decides that it's not in his best interest at the moment and says no. And unfortunately, another 5 years pass, and now the water is getting dangerously low. And it's forcing old school Tom to the meeting table. And everybody in the community gets together and finally decides to go with Phil. They say, we're going to place a value to water, and we're going to allocate a certain amount. And that water is yours. You can buy it, you can sell it, you can do whatever you want. And eventually, the city agrees. Old school Tom now realizes that because of this new situation, if he invests in water conservation, collecting rain, and so much more, he can actually sell that water that he is now not using at a premium to far more people. And Phil, of course, in the same scenario, has a lot of extra water these days now and is able to sell it to other farmers in need. And slowly that river is going up instead of down. That's the power of water rights. It's adding value. That's the power of free market environmentalism. By placing value to that water, we're able to make decisions that are in the best interest of everybody. Not only do we preserve more water, but people also made more money along the way. And so I encourage you to embrace the traditions of old school Tom, but to think like Phil in many scenarios as well. And think about how free markets can advance our environmental issues. Okay, so that's the story in water rights. Again, I could tell you a story about statistically, if we all pull this much amount water from the river, then over time in 5 years, we're going to be at this level and et cetera, right? And that's not going to connect with anybody. But now I'm imagining old school Tom. I'm imagining this new kid Phil on the block, and it tells and advances my story of conservatism and conservation. So really encourage you to lean into stories. And know that stories are not always told via video. This is one of my favorite charities. It's called Charity Water. They give free drinking water to people across the world, predominantly in Africa. And you can see the stories just from the photos, right? And so what stories can you tell about the environment? What stories can you tell about your conservation efforts and what you're doing to leave this world in a better place? Now, as we tell stories, it's important that we message properly. And I've got a formula for success here. It's M equals EC cubed. It looks a lot like Albert Einstein's formula. I'm not going to call myself Albert Einstein. Just not going to do that. But a good message, which is the M, equals emotion, contrast, connection, and credibility. People should feel, right, with emotion. There's a good quote by Ben Shapiro that facts don't care about your feelings. And that's absolutely true in a debate. But in the message of persuasion and messaging, in the business of that, emotion absolutely matters. We need to connect with people and make them feel. Then we apply contrast, right? This is right versus wrong. This is red versus blue, black versus white. What's the contrast in your message? Connection, right? Answering that question of so what? Why should people care? And finally, credibility. Why you, the messenger? Why are you the messenger for this topic? Now, it's important on the credibility front that most of us absorb our credibility. a lot of young people don't realize how much credibility you truly have, right? As a high school student, here's what's happening in my classroom. I know that there are 10 million older Americans that would love to hear the rest of that sentence, right? As a college student, you won't believe what they're saying on my campus, right? Please let us know, right? There's a tremendous amount of authority that you can draw from yourself and your story. I really challenge you to do that and lean into your identity, right? As a black conservative, here's what I think about Black Lives Matter, right? You're gonna listen to me. I'm gonna be far more authoritative on the subject. As a female veteran, here's why I'm against females in the draft, right? These are all very powerful stories, and we have the right storytellers for them. So make sure you have that credibility. Now, let's just tell one good message, right? To give you an example of all of these in total, I'm gonna pick on, let's imagine I'm on the news, I'm part of campus reform, exposing liberal bias on a college campus near you. Is anybody from Arkansas? Who's from Arkansas? All right, we're gonna pick on Arkansas then, feels safe. Sorry if you're from Arkansas. Little Rock, not a big rock, I'll tell you that much. No, okay, sorry. Okay, I'm sure Little Rock is a beautiful place. Arkansas, great state. Okay, anyways, let's imagine that a conservative gets kicked out of class in Arkansas, right? How do I relate that on the news to everybody else? How do I make them care? Well, emotion, contrast, connection, and credibility. Here's how I would do it. I would say, what's happening to this student in Arkansas is not an isolated incident. We're seeing this across the country. Conservatives are being picked on, bullied, and harassed for sharing a different view on their campus. In California, my friend Hayden got punched in the face. In New York, I had a student that was kicked out of class because they brought a Bible to school before class started, was praying in their Bible, and was kicked out because the teacher was an ardent atheist. And in Florida, they literally started a fight club. And the first rule is you don't talk about Fight Club, but they did, and they brought in judo and karate instructors and specifically did not allow Republican and conservative students into their club. This is happening in a backyard near you. Conservatives are not getting a fair shake on college campuses, and it needs to end now, right? So that's that 30-second segment on television, very beautiful, very cool, but you saw what I did there, right? Emotion, picked on, bullied, harassed, contrast, this needs to end, this is wrong, this has to stop. Connection, this started in Arkansas, but now I'm in California. I'm in New York, Florida, and in a backyard near you. And finally, the credibility in this circumstance is the campus reform component, but still, tap into your credibility, and you'll be far more successful with the message online and in person. Back to the online world, of course, consistency is the best thing that we can do. We need to intrigue but not mislead, speaks to the clickbait of the world. The hardest thing to build from strangers online is trust, but one of the easiest things to lose is trust. Of course, we want to know our audience and talk to people. And this means one-to-one conversations. This is a really important thing that a lot of individuals don't do. People will treat social media a lot like this stage, right? You're like, okay, I've decided to post on my Instagram today. So let me post on Instagram, post, all right, oh wow, they liked it, they commented, that's so cool. Look at all these people reacting to my content, this is amazing. And what it really should look like is we're on the same level, my friends, we're talking. Someone dropped a comment on my Instagram post, I'm gonna say thank you, right? Or throw them an emoji or something of that nature. It's gonna be far more powerful to connect with these individuals when you talk to them. So don't discount the one-to-one relationships. It's really important that you do it. One thing that has put me across the world this year is what I call Operation Connect 4. Operation Connect 4, and here's what I do. I reach out to people that I haven't talked to in a while. I go to a lot of conferences, I speak in a lot of places, and I go to the bottom of my LinkedIn, the bottom of my phone or Facebook, Messenger, and I scroll down till I see somebody that I want to connect with that I haven't talked with in a while. And I just shoot them a message. How's it going? Now, the secret here is you can't sound like you're meeting to reach them about their car's extended warranty, and you can't sound like you're about to sell them on this amazing multi-level marketing scheme, and if they just bring 3 friends, we can all be millionaires. It has to be organic and natural, but I reach out to these people and say, what's up? How's it going? It's been a while. I remember we talked at this conference. What are you up to these days? And we have a conversation. 25% of people don't even respond, which is totally fine. Those are the breaks. I know where I am in that relationship with those people. 50% of people, it's usually a fun back and forth 1 or 2 message thing. We're in connection with each other, but nothing really happens. And that's totally fine, but we are now top of mind. And top of mind is what happens with the other 25%. those people, it's a real good back and forth. And I had a conversation with a friend in Florida recently, and all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, I get a phone call saying, hey, Stephen, we've got this awesome conference. We need someone to talk on digital and social media. You were top of mind. What do you think about coming to Florida in 2 weeks? I'm like, sure, I'll be there. I got another phone call. Hey, Stephen, thanks for connecting again. It was really cool how you had that training in Germany. We're going to have a company retreat in Lanzarote, Spain, which is next to Morocco for context, one of those islands. It's a beautiful retreat, all-inclusive 5-star hotel. We just need you to speak for 3 hours, and you're there for a week. What do you think? I'm like, I'm there. That was a great trip, by the way. And so many more, right? I'm going to be in Israel in 2 weeks, and I'm going to keep traveling internationally from there. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying if you connect with people, your network is going to be far more valuable to you. And so don't just meet people at a conference and then never talk to them again. Engage with people, and they're going to be able to reap you great rewards. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the next best time, my friends, is right now. Be top of mind. Now, of course, when we're talking about the internet, there's going to be some hate. And I think Taylor Swift says it best. You just have to shake it off for the most part here. But also leverage the tools at your disposal, right? There's filters, moderation. You can hide comments. Know that the comment section is also branding. And if everybody in the comment section is roasting you, that's not going to be a good post at the end of the day. And you can hide, you can mute, you can block, you can delete. Do not be afraid to take any of these actions, especially if they're strangers, but don't be afraid to take any of those actions in general. Now, if you decide to respond to a hater, I always say 1 response is a clarification and 2 is an argument. Let's not waste our time getting into arguments online. We want to be far more effective with our time. And unfortunately, this happened between 2 libertarian friends. It's always the libertarians. Now, I'm sympathetic, okay? I'm the first to be like, hey, you guys do you. I totally respect your game. But these 2 in particular, really, it was brutal. So this was Facebook, right? And I check my Facebook, and I see a topic that is causing people to go back and forth a ton. Now, I come back like an hour later. For some reason, I didn't refresh, and it just pops up. And they're at comment 167. Now, I want to know the state of mind of someone who at comment 167 is like, oh, this comment now is going to turn everything around. They're going to say sorry and think the exact same way that I do. That's not going to happen at all, right? Let's be far more persuasive and effective with our time. I'd rather you spend time creating another piece of content. I'd rather you spend time posting something else than getting in this argument with someone who you're not going to change their mind. And really, if they are healthy and really want an argument, then we'll make it content. Like, let's put it on live and let's do a debate, right? And let's do something fun with it. But don't get into these endless arguments or wars. And of course, beware of spam bots and mass puppeteering. Sometimes it's one person in their mom's basement. I wish that wasn't the imagery, but it really is. For some reason, it's always the mom's basement, and that almost still seems to be true. Does anybody live in their mother's basement right now? It's okay. You can be honest with me. I see one. Okay, that's okay. All right, so what happens is, and you've heard of these before, you may already have one. We're all pretty young people. We have Finsta accounts. We have Twitter accounts that are not attached to our name, where we can drop hot takes, be a little bit more free. But just know that that's happening to you. Sometimes if you post something and you're getting attacked by like 100 people, it could really be like 3 people with a bunch of different Twitter accounts and their mass puppeteering. So the other big thing to note is if you're getting hate online, it probably means you're doing something effective. If you weren't doing anything, no one would comment. No one would see what you were doing. But the fact that people are attacking you means there's something to your argument, right? And it always reminds me of that quote from Gandhi. First, they will ignore you. Then they will laugh at you. Then they will fight you. And then you will win. First, they ignore you. Then they laugh at you. Then they fight you, and then you win. So if you're getting hate online, you're probably doing something effective. And just know that we can mitigate that with as many tools that exist on social media. So just a quick review period right now. For your social media efforts, it starts with the planning of everything. What are your goals and priorities? For 2023, for your ACC chapter, for your personal brand, if there are decision makers, maybe there's a social media coordinator, director, comms person for your group, or it's just you. You're the only decision maker. Fine, perfect. What's the timeline and what does success look like? Then we start top level. The top level goal should be independent of channel. What I mean by that is if your goal is to get elected, I'm going to use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and more to help me get elected. But my goal is to get elected. It's not to use Facebook, right? And so we, at the top level, have to have our goals and our outcomes. And then we're going to use social media to be the fuel to reach our goals a little bit faster and identify which digital measurements are going to be valuable to us. Now, from there, now we're on the social media channels that you've chosen, right? 2 to 6 social media sites. And we have identified the audience we're reaching, the content that's the best fit, and the actions that you'd like your audience to take. And you should have a ladder of options for people. Option number 1 is to join my group. Option number 2 is to maybe write a letter of support. Option number 3 is to come to an event. Option number 4 is just to give me your email address, right? We've got a bunch of actions that we want people to take. Then we set time periods, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. And then finally, we review and improve based on those time periods, right? It's been a week, this worked or this didn't work, and so therefore we're gonna continue doing it or not, and develop best practices and case studies. And ultimately, know that crisis is going to occur. And the best time to plan for crisis is before it happens. And so talk through common scenarios. What could be happening? What should you be on the lookout for? And make sure you have expectations for how you're going to mitigate and move through crisis online. Sometimes, especially on social media, it can happen blazingly fast. For some reason, the number 1 liked picture on Instagram right now is a picture of an egg, and so much more. So social media works in a very quick way. So I want to leave you all in the 10 minutes or so that I have left with a framework for pulling people off of social media and getting them to take action in the real world. It's really great to build your profile, but it's really bad if you tweet something out and then nobody signs your petition, nobody comes to your event, nobody makes a donation, etc. Very important that that happens. And so I want to just give you the bacon method. Everybody loves bacon. We had it for breakfast this morning. The reason I called it bacon is because it's super easy to remember. And it stands for this: we build, activate, connect, organize, and nurture. We build lists, activate contacts, connect members, organize the data, and then we nurture those relationships, and we'll be in a really good spot for success. And it starts with building, right? And by far, the number 1 thing you can do to build is create a list building petition or survey. But I also want to argue to you that if you and your organization are not leveraging emails and phone numbers, then we're going to not be as successful. I want you to imagine for a second, there's a congressman and they're voting the wrong way on an environmental issue. And you walk into their office and you're like, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Congressperson, I'm here, I'm a constituent, I'm in your district, and I think you're voting the wrong way. I hope you vote the opposite way. Now, at best, they're gonna give you that good politician smile and handshake and tell you they're gonna work it out and it's all gonna be great. But that conversation looks a lot different when you walk into that office and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Congressperson, I represent a group of more than 4,000 activists that are focused on changing the conversation on climate. And we are gonna make your life miserable in this next election cycle unless you vote this particular way. Far more powerful, my friends, far more powerful. You will be more powerful when you have an email list and a list of phone numbers that you can leverage for success. Now, of course, to get these from the internet, we have to kind of encourage people to give us their contact information, and petitions and surveys are the best way that we know how to do it. Now, it starts with the right topic, because the goal is to swim with online conversation and tap into existing interest around a particular topic. If I try and promote a petition that people don't like, no one's gonna sign it, right? And so some ideas, you can lean into the conversation, right? Do you support the Green New Deal? Like yes or no, right? Yes, no. Even if the answer is yes, please fill out this survey and tell me that, and I still have your contact information, name, phone number, email, and hopefully a little bit more than that. So that's a good one. And also just looking at the trending topic of Twitter to find these issues that are gonna work. And it works a lot like Eminem in 8 Mile. He's got a song called Lose Yourself. And he says something to the effect of, you only have one shot. Are you gonna capture it or just let it slip? And he says something about mom spaghetti after that. But the moral of this story here is that there's gonna be times where the trending tab of Twitter or what people are talking about in the day directly intersects with what you care about and your environmental issues, etc. And those are the times where you have to strike when the iron is hot, choosing those right topics. And then we ask our friends, hey, what do you think? And if they are responding, then you know other people are going to respond. There's no shortage of opinions on social media, and people will give them to you. Don't believe me? Go to your favorite social media profile person, anybody, on any site, and look at the comment section. Everyone's going to say, or pick on a Kardashian, right? Ooh, that dress makes her look too thin. Or, oh, she needs to eat some more food. Like, I can't believe she's our role model for women. Like, there's going to be 1,000 comments and more. People love giving their opinion. Tap into that and collect contact information. Now, from there, what we do is we communicate urgency, and we don't ask for too much. If anybody has ever tried to fill out a survey or something online, and then there's 20 more forms, you're like, oof, TLDR, I'm not gonna do this, it's too much work. Same principle here. We should just collect the basics at first, and then we'll move from there. Now, for free, you can do this using Google Forms. All we have to do is drop some Google Forms onto social media. If we're going the paid route, Gravity Forms is the best for an organization. If there's an R next to your name, win red. If there's a D next to your name, it's Act Blue. These are fantastic petition builders that will work every single time. Here's an example of one from Kristi Noem, the governor of South Dakota. And she basically says, I want to know what you care about. Let me know. And of course, you're able to select some awesome options where you are able to tell her what you care about. But more important than that, up top are the required fields: first name, last name, email. That's what we're going after, right? And so these types of efforts are how we collect people's information online. And so through a couple questions, we can get at least a couple names. Let's imagine that I just got 10, right? I got 10 names. It is now my job to activate those contacts. You have to make them active. Now, they're going to be coming from a variety of sources. Sometimes it's social media. Sometimes they accessed your website. Maybe it was a conference that was in person. All of these individuals need to go through your activation funnel. And here it is: call, text, email. Pretty simple, but we call, text, and then email these individuals. And it's important. For some reason, people under the age of 35, we've lost the art of calling people. And I promise you, you're going to be far more effective and powerful if you start making phone calls to people. I get it, texting's easier, I do it too, but phone calls are the most persuasive form of communication. If I can get you on the phone, I can close you. Meaning I can get you to my event, I can get you to sign up, I can get you to donate, etc. And I know how you feel too. On the phone, I know if you're shy, you're timid, or if you're confident and bold. I know if you're excited, or how you even talk in the first place. All of these things are nice to understand, and you can only pick that up really over the phone. Now, after we call people, statistically, 85% of people are not going to pick up because they think you're calling about their car's extended warranty, and they don't recognize the number. And that's totally fine. We're going to call first still, and then we text them. We text them saying, hey, you signed up. Remember when you signed up? Again, we collected this information from people. Would love to reach you about how to get involved. And then once you text them, they're like, oh, this is a real person. Okay, cool. Let me actually have this conversation with this person, and we move forward to a phone call. And then, of course, we are automatically emailing. That happens quite a bit. But we need to use creative persistence along the way. And again, this sounds a little bit like a sales presentation for a second, but no, if someone tells you no, does not mean no forever. It could mean no to this opportunity or no at this time. And so I encourage you to push past the first no. So here's how it might go. Let's assume I'm just trying to get someone to volunteer on a campaign. And I'm like, all right, well, how's it going today? Thank you so much for taking my call. I really appreciate you. We're trying to make all the difference in the world. We're going to win this thing thanks to people like you. And let me tell you what, we're having a super Saturday this weekend. We'll pair you up with a friend. We're going to go knock some doors. There's going to be some pizza at the end. It's going to be really fun. What do you think? And the person goes, well, I just had knee surgery. I don't think I want to knock any doors this weekend, but I do appreciate what you're doing out there, and I hear you loud and clear. And those people that give up right there, they give up right there, and that would be it. But again, we have to go that next level. It's like, all right, I completely get it. I totally understand. Knee surgery is very real. My grandfather went through that as well. The good thing is you can still help this campaign. We have an amazing phone dialing service. You can make phone calls from your house. You can make and connect with a lot of people over the phone, make a lot of relationships and connect with a lot of people on this phone. Could I ask you to make a couple calls for the campaign? The person goes, well, I just don't know. I don't like calling strangers. I called a dead person once. It just gave me a bad vibe. I'm not a phone call person. That's totally fine. There's a place for everybody on this campaign. And I'll tell you what you can do. We have a pizza fund. People are knocking doors. I know you can't be there, but could I get you to maybe pitch in like $10 so we can give these volunteers some tasty pizza? Right now, we're at Pizza Hut level. With your donation, it can be Papa John's, like with the garlic cup and everything. Yes, absolutely garlic cup and everything. And the guy goes, well, money's kind of tight right now. Why don't you hit me back on the first, my brother? And I'm like, all right, sir, there's a place for everybody on this campaign. I want to let you know that first and foremost. I have pre-written this op-ed. All you have to do is sign it and submit it to the paper. It's already written. You can change anything that you want. Could I ask you to submit this op-ed to the newspaper? You already wrote it? I've already wrote it, sir. I've already wrote it. All you have to do is submit it to the paper. Here's the link and a quick 1, 2, 3 on how to do it. All right, I can help. Let me go ahead and submit this to the paper. All right, perfect. So again, I wanted him to do 10,000 other things before it came to the op-ed, but I didn't stop at the no. And when it comes to your tabling, whether it's for the American Conservation Coalition or others, we're trying to get people active and engaged. You should have a ladder of engagement. If they can't do number 1, what's number 2? What's number 3? What's number 4? And so on and so forth. And don't take no personally. But here's my secret formula for success. It's legitimacy, relatability, and then the ask. Hey, first name, it's Steven at the Pro Pineapple on Pizza campaign. Thanks for volunteering to knock doors. When would be a good time to reach you about how to get involved? Now, I relate to how we met and then ask them a question. This is also good dating advice for single people out there. If you are just sending messages like, how are you? Good. Where's that gonna go, right? Another piece of advice too that applies for the dating world is why didn't you pick up the phone and call them and ask them out on a date? You're gonna be far more successful, I promise you. But back to politics, yes, this does say I'm pro pineapple on pizza, and I'm not going to shy away from that. Out of curiosity, just for fun, because this divides Americans at the dinner table, this is worse than Republican versus Democrat. This is, does pineapple belong on pizza? Out of curiosity, show of hands, if you're with me, does pineapple belong on pizza? Wow, we're outnumbered here, friends. It's okay. We are the brave, the strong, the pro-pineapple. All right, so one more show of hands. Are you anti-pineapple? Okay, yep. Terrorist, hater, worst person ever. I killed a dog. Yep, okay, I see you. No, I'm kidding. No, you're totally fine. For some reason, though, why is that the thing? Why is that the thing? I've seen cauliflower crust. I've seen honey on pizza. I've seen every type of spicy pepper. But Lord, we put a pineapple on the pizza, and that's what has set people off. It makes no sense to me. Totally fine. So we definitely want to onboard people. If this is the email route, someone has signed up through your website or anything like that, just a quick view of a welcome email series. I'm going to do my best to send you this presentation because there's a lot inside of it. But just to show you what it looks like, I'm saying, hey, the first welcome email is saying, welcome. We're making you feel like a team member of the campaign. And here's an easy ask. Sign up for text message updates. Part 2, I want to know more about you. Fill out this survey. And I can tell if this person's pro-babies or pro-guns or pro-babies with guns. I can ultimately segment them better on my list and make sure that I can target them properly with my advertising. Thank you. And then welcome email number 3 is a small donation ask. We're looking for just 3 donors. Please donate at $5 or more if you can. But I'm making people feel like a team member and they're receiving welcome correspondence. If you are not emailing people that have just signed up for your group, it's a missed opportunity. Let's reach out to them and let them know what's happening and how they can get involved. Then we connect people together. And it makes people feel ultimately like the Avengers, but just make an online group. GroupMe, Telegram, Facebook groups, Slack, so much out there. Connect your members together. Facebook groups are great. Then we organize the data. We can't keep track of all the relationships in our head. So make sure that we write stuff down. Now, the first time I met you, you told me you had a dog. I wrote it down. Second time, I looked at my spreadsheet. I know you have a dog. Third time, I just know that about you, right? We're friends now. But by writing it down, I can memorize and know more about you. And then finally, we nurture relationships. And what it looks like in most organizations is we're creating dyadic relationships. These are called dyads. And here, you're the leader, but people are just being recruited. And if it was just a pure numbers game, like recruit as many people as possible, this would be sufficient. But that's not what we're looking for. We're trying to build a movement. And a movement requires a triadic relationship, which means that everybody knows each other. Tom knows that I know Mary, Mary knows that I know Tom, and Tom knows Mary. That should be your goal, is to relate people and connect them together. We want to nurture these relationships. I apologize, I'm out of time, so let me just quickly finish the slide here. So here's what it looks like in a dyadic relationship. Right now, you can only manage so many people. Now, if you create triads, now you've created something sustainable. You can say that you met Jack and Jill before they went up the hill. And if you instill this inside your organization, one day when you graduate, when you move, when you have to take a different job, etc., this organization can still grow and thrive in perpetuity. It is your job as a leader to nurture your relationships, to connect people together. The reason groups get smaller and smaller are two reasons: connection and communication. People don't feel connected and people are not communicated to. Those are the two things that we have to focus on most, and that will stop attrition. And hopefully, by nurturing relationships, you'll be creating far greater scenarios inside your groups and beyond. So that's the Bacon method. I really appreciate you all. Just one more time, it's build, activate, connect, organize, and nurture. But I just really encourage all of you to be awesome warriors out there. Keep fighting the good fight. We need more conservative environmentalists, more people focusing on free market environmentalism. And just remember to leave everyone and everything, especially this planet, better than you found it. Awesome. Okay, friends.